Hello, nerds! Thank you for joining me here on Nerd News Clips. This is the second channel. This is the place for all of the short-form content as well as the individual sections and just generally speaking smaller things. If you are into the longer form content, youtube.com/generallynerdy is the place to go see that. With that out of the way, let's get into this. Let's get into the music news. Music news, we're starting with a follow-up. That lawsuit that we've been keeping tabs on, where Nirvana is being sued, has been thrown out by a court. This is the third and final time this is going to happen. This time the judge has said that the plaintiff, the kid in the photo that is, the one that is at the center of this, I guess, controversy, had he filed suit within 10 years of him becoming a conscious being and realizing that he was not okay with the existence of that picture, then he might have a leg to stand on. But the judge says, nope, you didn't file suit when you were 14. You cannot file suit now that you are 24. This is silly. Get out of my court. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that's effectively what happened. So yeah, Nirvana no longer being sued by the stoner kid who's looking to make a payday off of the great band that they are. That's all we have for music follow-ups. Let's jump into new music. We have new music, just one piece for this episode, and that comes from Suicide Silence. The name of this song is You Must Die. My relationship with deathcore has been interesting since its inception around about the MySpace days when I was a teenager. Yeah, it was, I dug it in that it had breakdowns and it was super heavy. Just that death part of the deathcore. I've never been much for death metal. I feel like at a certain point it becomes white noise and it just doesn't have enough dynamics to hold my attention. The new Suicide Silence track, though, not necessarily in that category. It is still deathcore, it is still Suicide Silence, it is still that. I just think I'm changing a little bit with my musical taste, and also this is just a solid record. Their last single was Thinking in Tongues. It was a jam, it was so good, and this is kind of continuing in that vein. Not quite as good as that last single, but still definitely approved if you are into the deathcore or just aggressive music in general. Go check out Suicide Silence new track, You Must Die. Tours. This is technically a follow-up, but it is a tour still. Cannibal Corpse we talked about in the last episode. I did not have dates or anything for you. I now believe, yes, there is a link, so you can follow the link down in the description. There are now dates for this Cannibal Corpse tour. It is a European tour, so it is not something that is going to be stateside or anywhere else just yet. They have not announced any other legs of this tour, though I'm sure they are right around the corner. Once they do get announced, we will be talking about it, but we now have a little bit more information for the tour in general. This is not just Cannibal Corpse. It is going to be Dark Funeral as well as I'm not going to say this band's name. Oh no, I'm sorry. I was misreading it. Ingested. Dark Funeral and Ingested are going to be the support on this tour, and that is going to be a hell of a time for the death metal minded. Go check that tour out. We also have Ramstein has announced a new European tour. You lucky European folk you. They going from May to August. Again, link in the description for the exact dates as well as links to get tickets, all down there. Go check that out. That is all we have for tours, so let's get into regular ass music news. We have, starting things off, is an interesting one, and honestly probably could have put this in last week's episode because I saw some sort of rumbling about it, but no details. And now we have some details, so we're going to talk about it. Nickelback is going to be gracing us with a new single. Yeah, I have never hated Nickelback like I should, apparently, because apparently everybody hates Nickelback. I mean, like, they had a couple of decent ones. Leader of Men was a good song. There were a couple of their older ones that I kind of got into before they signed to Roadrunner. And then once they signed to Roadrunner, it just kind of became the same shtick over and over and over again. So I lost interest. But that's not to say that they're a bad band. and they're going to be giving us a new single shortly, sometime this week, presumably. Chad Kroeger did an interview recently, I believe it was on SiriusXM, Trunk Nation or something, where he was talking about the new record. They are putting out a new record. Again, no dates or names or anything for that just yet. Once that is announced, we will follow up. But yeah, new Nickelback. I was hoping to have done a quickie reaction to it this week, but it hasn't released yet. So we'll do it next week. Other news in music, we have Anthrax has canceled a tour. They were supposed to go over to Europe as well. This one was all set up, everything was in line, and then they canceled because of logistics and the cost of travel and just kind of everything involved with money these days. They haven't said anything about rescheduling just yet. They have said through their socials that if you had tickets to any of those dates, then you can get a full refund from your point of sale. Presumably, the next time they go out on tour, especially in Europe, tickets are going to be a little bit more expensive so that they can afford to get there and travel around and come back without going broke. I mean, that is the state of things these days. If we do get rescheduled dates, we'll talk about it. But for now, that is all we have for regular-ass news in music. Let's talk music suggestions. Today's suggestion comes from BlackBraid once again. I'm just going to probably suggest this guy's record to you a couple of weeks in a row just because this is like, all right, so it's black metal, but it's also super dynamic and very well produced. Those are not exactly two descriptors generally used to describe black metal. And dude, I mean, he's a one-man band. He does all this stuff by himself, and this is absolutely a blast of a half an hour. This record, BlackBraid I, is so good. So good. Even if you don't necessarily like aggressive music, the dynamics in here are so great. Not all of it's aggressive. There's some really laid-back tunes on this record. So yeah, go check it out. It is absolutely worth your time. Once again, this has been just a brief segment from the larger episode that has been posted over on the main channel, youtube.com/generallynerdy. Go over there for the long-form content, or just subscribe here if you want it in bite-sized chunks. Thank you very much for joining me, nerds. We'll see you in the next one. Before we go, though, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.